Jodiet Sua, that means hello in Cambodian. Happy Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. My name is Tara Chia, and I am the daughter of Cambodian refugees. I am also a member of the King County Council's AANHPI Affinity Group. May is AANHPI Heritage Month, and we wanted to take a moment to celebrate our diverse communities, different stories, and rich history. As a child of refugees and survivors of the Cambodian genocide, I remember the stories my parents used to tell me of struggle, oppression, and displacement. But with these adversities also came stories of community, resilience, and humanity. This year, I think of the Maui wildfires that devastated much of the historic town of Lahaina. Over 100 lives lost, many still missing, and thousands displaced and without homes. Despite the devastation, today Maui is rebuilding also through community, resilience, and humanity. We are all connected by these common threads, even if no story is the exact same. Although 1 month is not nearly enough time to celebrate and share the diverse stories and heritage of our communities, we still want to recognize the importance of AANHPI Heritage Month by highlighting and uplifting a few impactful stories. Today, we will be hearing from individuals from Ching Gardens, the Indian American Community Services, Lee Family Farms, Asian Counseling and Referral Services, and King County Metro as they talk about their important work and experiences.
Today, we are at one of our work parties. A bunch of people with clippers and spades and pitchforks will start tearing up blackberries. Piles and piles of blackberries.
It just really does take a village to make this come true, and the history, there's just so much to tell.
This property had been owned by the first executive chef at Canlis, Pam's dad, and her mom, Jenny.
My mother was interned during the Japanese internment period. My father was in the Pacific Theater in the Army. That's where he learned how to chef, how to cook. I was 9 years old when we moved here from Leshai. The schools that we went to were basically all Caucasian, not integrated. My parents found this property out here. My dad loves gardening, my mother loves gardening. But due to redlining, they were unable to purchase it. And that's where my father's boss, Peter Canlis, helped out. He purchased this land and the house. And he said, I will do this as long as the two neighbors agree that a non-white family moves into a very white shoreline. And of course they, well, I shouldn't say of course, well, we were fortunate they did agree. So Peter bought the house and then he sold it to my parents. My dad and my mom just saw this as their haven, their sanctuary. Fruit trees and badminton courts and all sorts of wonderful things and lots of people and parties. The vegetables were so bountiful. My dad would just give it away and my mom would preserve. There were no fences between any of the property. All the kids could just come here and play, just open house. And then when my parents got old and moved out, it was sold to a developer who let it sit for 10 years. It was neglected and derelict.
It seemed like, since the garden had been neglected, it was kind of obvious that it would make a great community garden. I wrote a letter, an op-ed for the Shoreline Area News, and there was just this groundswell of remembering and respect and fondness for the Ching family and what they had done.
I think my dad would love, and my mom also, to see the new ideas, the transformation, having young people come in, and community. That's really, I think they would be extremely happy. Yeah.
I've been coming here since 2005, and I've seen the group getting bigger and bigger every year. You make more friends, new friends, and meet new people.
Indian American Community Services is a community-based organization that serves the Asian Indian immigrant refugee community and has been in Washington State for over 34 years. and we provide programming across all generations. We come from a culture where you're surrounded by family, extended family, friends and community. Here we have to take the bus. We live in suburbs. We cannot afford to always live in the midst of a city. Seniors who come to our senior center have an opportunity once a week to meet with our youth and to create art together, to create music together, to create dance together, and to have conversations together.
Who knows what is on August 30th? We have the festival of Rakhi.
It is a festival in India tying the sacred thread. Typically, the sister ties this thread to the brother. So today, our toddlers and our youth had that opportunity to tie that thread to our seniors and to commit that they are there for each other.
Brings back memories of like childhood where Indian cultural things were normal thing. When we first came here, there weren't many Indian people, so there weren't any functions, Indian culture things and like that. But gradually, it's getting better day by day.
Thanks to the VSHSL levy as well as the ARPA funding that we got, this is one senior center that you saw today. But think of this as 5 days a week across different parts of King County. Seniors connect with each other in these spaces where they get to eat food that they are familiar with, they get to speak to people they are familiar with, but they also learn to develop new friendships.
I like my retired life. I met so many people and they're very friendly. I was surprised.
We're harvesting tomatoes, carrots, beets. Those are just some of the produce that we'll be delivering to the food bank. As my mom worked and raised her kids, she also volunteered at the Asian Counseling and Referral Services. She developed a relationship with Karen, who is their food bank manager.
They are big, nice bok choy. Peppers, we have a lot. Plums, just refill us, it gets empty. I think we're ready.
And then she would bring in these boxes or two to show Karen, hey, this is what I can grow for the food bank. She grew the vegetables that the clients were more accustomed to seeing. That's how our relationship has grown over 30 years.
Local produce, it's fresh, it's a variety, it's more nutritious than if it's traveled across the country or across the world. And they can make what they want to with it because it's a whole food, it's not already prepared in a way they don't like or know what it is.
The ACR's Food Bank is located in the heart of Chinatown International District. We're serving over 5,000 clients per year. 90+% of our clientele are seniors. I believe without this service, it would be challenging to thrive in this neighborhood with the cost of living going up. We've had this relationship with Lee Farm for quite some time now, and they were generous enough to donate produce for us for the longest time without asking anything and just knowing the need in the community. And ACRS was able to then get into a position where we were able to purchase from them. So it was just a win-win situation.
My parents are still in the business and they're still on the farm, but you know, farming is physically it's very demanding. All the kids have slowly helped them along the way, and my husband and I have been working on the farm more, and that's how we're here.
I'm very happy that somebody in the family want to keep the tradition of farming continuing.
We see that there's a great need in just the community that we live in and in the Puget Sound. And we like to serve the community. It's just kind of the face-to-face contact. We like that more than anything. That's what keeps us going, is just the feedback from the community.
So if it drives around, maybe people can see it, they'll feel like they're represented and that people are starting to get to know their culture a little bit. We just want to try to spread some knowledge and love all around the place.
It's humbling too, you know, you're like, wow, you know, I'm just one person. Can I really have a difference, and can my art really be a voice for a community, and also, you know, speak volumes to people about how important it is to have Asian representation or AANHPI representation.
I hope that this project or this artwork makes us, like, whoever received this project, and that they are proud of their heritage, and like that they are proud of their mom and their story.
Sometimes easy to hide or assimilate in American culture, in the dominant culture, and so the more that we can like see people being proud of who they are and their heritage, I think is really inspiring.
Okay, so basically it all started from Lunar's New Year's in 2023 when they had that Monterey Park shooting. And Monterey Park is right next to my hometown, Montebello, California. And I saw a newsletter come out through county how they're saying that they're saddened and honor the victims and this and that. And President Biden asked for all agencies and businesses to have the flag at half staff, and I noticed ours was not at half staff. So I wrote back to the, I think it was Michelle, kind of upset. And I was like, hey, our flags are not at half staff, you know, we need to lower them. And it got done eventually. And she asked if there's anything else that we could do. And I said, yeah, how about a bus wrap for the Asian American Native Hawaiian Pacifica community? You know, where's our bus? And she's like, that's a good idea. Let me get back with you. So here we are today. Pretty amazing. I still haven't really wrapped my head around it, that like my design got digitized and is gonna be floating around, driving around on a 60-foot billboard. It's pretty exciting. It's a little bit about my family background. On the left front of the bus, it has the Polynesians paddling, finding the Hawaiian Islands, and I put that there because my father's side is all from Hawaii. They are all born and raised on the Big Island of Hawaii. The left rear, which is the Japanese American side, primarily from my mother's side. Well, my father is Japanese American as well. But I have the most decorated units in all of World War II history, and I think it's even current to this day, which is the 442nd and the 100th Battalion. Those two units were created for the Japanese Americans to prove for their loyalty to the country during World War II. So I have relatives that were in that unit in the 442nd. One got a Purple Heart, one was KIA. And it's also, I have the internment camps where my mom's whole side of the family was during World War II. They were relocated to these camps, stripped of their rights, and forced to live there. So I have that also depicted in the photo, as well as the Space Shuttle Challenger, which was from Ellison Onizuka, who passed away on the STS-51L disaster in 1986. He was the first Japanese American into space, but not on this flight, but it's for him also. The right front is for the Chinese Americans that worked so hard in this country, helped build the transcontinental railroads. My wife is Chinese American. And it's also, I have in there a little star with 91754 to remember the people of Monterey Park. And the last one, the right rear panel, was, originally I had a different design, but I was asked to change it and make it more of my story and what things mean to me. So I have like my mom and dad's initials on there, my wife's, and my daughter. Got our 4 cats, and then I love music. I used to DJ back in the day. I still play around with it. I don't do any gigs, but I do it just for fun and creativity. So I have my turntables up there, and I'm dressed up in my Metro uniform as a mechanic.
We have narrowed down on moms. Like, we want to celebrate mothers, and so I wanted these mothers to like be honored in that way. And so we talked about like having each of the elements behind and around the moms to like represent their person, their strength, their resilience. And so this symbolism like sort of like evolved and took over the artwork. My mom doesn't live here, she lives in Oklahoma. I feel like for her, no one have ever celebrated her or like her success, her strength, like what a life that she's had. And she's not alone. There are so many other women who are similar to her who've not been celebrated and have no representation of what, like, my mom thinks it's normal to work 13-hour days, 7 days a week. That's not normal. And so someone needs to talk about that and bring out all of these awesome people who exist among us. And this, in our projects, we only did 4 mothers, and all of them have crazy, amazing stories and very resilient stories, but we don't think of that. So I feel like bringing out these stories make you appreciate who you're around. And I got closer to my colleague who shared stories about their moms, and I just couldn't believe some of the things that these mothers went through.
I think just in more of a white dominant patriarchal society that these stories are really hidden, and just the oppression that women face, and American Asian women. That ties to what Lynn was saying around just the stories get lost, or the internalized oppression that make them feel that their value is lower than others. And so to really kind of lift up their stories and to share it back to them and see and show that their stories are really powerful and that they have a big impact on not only their children, but Metro and King County is really a special opportunity that we were able to give. And if we could have interviewed a bunch of other mothers, that would be really awesome too.
Super exciting. It feels fantastic to be even affiliated with the project. It's such an honor. With Metro, we always, try to promote equity, racial and social justice. And, just it's so awesome to have ERG Affinity groups here at Metro. So just to see this project come into, from just a concerning moment in history, right? With where, you have these victims, and then to kind of turn into a positivity to say, hey, we're not going to let that stop us from continuing to show positivity and have a positive representation of all our communities, because the AANHPI Asian, groups have a huge diaspora, and so we really need to represent that in our community. So it's just been so cool to see this come into fruition. Wow, how do I represent an AANHPI diaspora that's so vast, different Native Hawaiian, from Native Hawaiian to Pacific communities to American Asian communities? How do I encapsulate that in one art piece? And so I was like, well, all of us even though we're all different countries, we have amazing national landmarks that we're all proud of. We have amazing cloth patterns, to different types of patterns are known from our culture. And then of course we have all the beautiful cultural delicious foods. And so I just focused kind of on those 3 items to create my artwork. So I grabbed a lot of Google images, and then I was like, well, how do I encapsulate that into kind of one mosaic? And I was like, dragons are kind of a strong icon for AANHPI representation, but that's kind of very common. So I was like, maybe it could be koi fish scales. So from there, I just used that and, interspersed all these different patterns from those 3 themes onto fish/dragon scales. And then that kind of made an overarching piece of, representing the diaspora of AANHPI communities. My family immigrated to the U.S. when I was 3 years old, and my father immediately wanted us to be assimilated, right, as Americans. So he had my elementary school teachers and principal rename myself and my 2 siblings with English names. So I grew up, known as Liz for the first 25 years of my life. So I didn't even know really, it kind of automatically from my name, I was separated from my Asian heritage, from my culture. And so I had to reclaim that. So that's why I went back to using my current name, which is my birth name, Wan Lin. Very proud of it. And so that's why it's so important to have this kind of representation. I want folks to be able to ride transit, see the AANHPI bus traveling through their communities, have that sense of pride in their heritage and culture, just like I do now, which I had to rediscover. And also when they're waiting for the bus at the bus shelters. I mean, it's just so exciting and so cool to, be able to, really represent and see that representation out there.
Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us. We wanted to thank the folks from Ching Gardens, the Indian American Community Services, Lee Family Farms, Asian Counseling and Referral Services, and King County Metro for sharing their time and stories with us. Thank you to King County's AANHPI Affinity Group for their amazing work in organizing this video. And thank you to KCTV for giving these stories a platform and bringing them to life. May is AANHPI Heritage Month, but together we can celebrate it every month.